How's the horses doing?
Chamber mixer thing they had.
Yeah.
I was in the
No, the races, no, the
Yeah,
races.
I like that.
big huge smile on
Oh,
my
yeah.
face.
Oh, yeah.
Sit behind.
Hello.
My nephew.
Aww.
Family affair, huh?
Right.
Well, I'm not family anymore, that was.
Yeah, you
Oh,
put
okay.
you right between them.
Oh, okay.
Aww.
What happened to you?
You gotta remind them sometimes.
You sit back here on the back.
Sometimes they just push you out,
If you want
Randy.
to. We're the back.
Skip her drawers, so.
That's right.
I feel like I'm in the
Back
bus
here
feed
where
once more.
the
I'm so sore.
troublemakers sit.
Linda.
I did some work
Actually,
yesterday.
it's
So I worked yesterday.
I know.
I can't hold the water more than like.
I think we did. Yes, and gone. I think you see why you someone.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, catches up.
Sure, absolutely.
I went up to Tiffany, Saturday, come back on Sunday. They had the Smith reunion up there, Saturday, which I didn't go to, but we
Maybe we should do the
but,
three.
You want to come back?
anyway, I'm gonna do Joyce, Joyce.
We can go together. Last time I saw Janice, I was probably a teenager. You know, she's got to be 60 now, I guess, something like that. But that's why, you know, but it was really
So
good.
she did like
to
that.
see her,
Just a second.
Oh, okay.
you know,
Just a second.
Looks like everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Everybody. That's good.
This office has our public service agents out front, but we also have our tax and collections department and our IT.
Well, explain some of the pictures, I don't know.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Where all the trouble
They don't even wait on me. Warner, this is my girlfriend.
All right.
How are you?
I'll sit down and then when I stand up, I'll take 29.
Okay, all right, there you go.
Yeah,
Wrap it
Kyle
up.
will keep you on.
Okay.
But yeah, anything that they can learn to make them more aware of the community we live
Yep.
Very smart.
I'm not coming behind you.
Oh, okay.
I love her. I loved her yesterday too, because the color James, let me know when you're ready. Are you ready now?
It always freezes before Easter. Anytime before Easter, it freezes. Exactly. Crazy.
Are we ready? Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to introduce you to our speaker this morning. Every chance we get to introduce you to other people in our community that can fill your arsenal with more tools, that's what we want to do, because you're all touching the public, whether you're at the counter, whether you're in the tax department taking phone calls, whether you're at the call center. So our speaker today is going to provide you with some useful information to help spread the word about a wonderful program. Her name is Joanne Wilkes. She's the program coordinator at Displaced Homemakers of Santa Fe College, but it goes by another name too. So she'll talk about that and the programs that they offer so that you can help members of our community when you hear anyone who may need her services. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, John, and for Kyle making this arrangement. So I love my job. I absolutely love my job. I get to work with women who have been homemakers, some men. We have had men come in who are 30 and older who are now looking for employment. And we kind of take it for granted when you're looking for a job how to go about that. But times have changed, so many of the women who are, the majority of our women are in their 40s and 50s. And from when they were working in high school and they're in their early 20s, an online application, a new cover letter, making sure you have a LinkedIn account, just are paralyzing. And so we help them with that. But we have many other things that we do. And so when a woman calls, and we often get people from referrals from United Way, Peaceful Paths, counselors, mediators. I think mediators are supposed to stay out of it and mediate, but sometimes they'll slip them our card. And churches will refer someone to us because they know that they're struggling. And what we try to do is assess their individual needs. What is it that they particularly need? Sometimes they just need a little bit of help with a resume. Sometimes they need to go back to school. Unfortunately, I would say we probably have between 25 and 30% of the women we see who do not have a GED. And you are bumped up against that job until you can get a GED. And when you're in your 40s and 50s, that's pretty intimidating. So we have a process that we help them. We have the women get down there in our adult education, and they're so welcoming and warm to them that they really help them get through getting a GED. And so one of them, I love telling stories, but one of them has worked very hard. There are 4 parts to GED now. Thank goodness we don't have to take it. And so you have to take each one of those. Each is $32, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's more, that's, you know, that's food money. And but when they pass it, they are so excited that they finished the math or the social studies, and it makes us all feel good. So since the beginning of the year, we've had 9 women get jobs, which is, and they just feel so motivated getting a resume. We have them from somebody who's working in, working at the county at a fairly high salary to someone else who's going to work part-time, but they have a job and they have income and they're able to support themselves and their kids, and we continue to support them. So we have our program, not only do we do the assessment, we have a 60-hour class. And it is 3 weeks. It's a time commitment, 8:30 to 12:30 every day. And I was telling Kyle that we have people who come in from Grace Marketplace. That's a time commitment, because you got to be up early to get that bus and make all the changes. And especially if you have kids, you got to get them to daycare, you got to get on the bus, and you got to get out there. But it helps them get back into a routine of going to work. So at 8:30 to 12:30, and we teach life management skills, building self-esteem that first week, and they bond with each other. Typically we have 7 to 9 in each class, so we serve over 100 women a year. And then the last 2 weeks are computer skills and employability skills. So computer skills, we have found there's a huge technology gap. They can use a phone, but so when I say, okay, do you have an email? Yes. What can you sign on to it here? My password's at home. Your password's wherever you are, but okay, so we need to know what your password is. Of course, right then for them it's dots, you know, from at home, and sometimes they have to call and ask their children, what's my password? So they can sign in. So when you're starting at that level, it's quite a challenge to get somebody to a level where they can create documents and save them and email them, upload a resume to an application. So Karen is our instructor, and she does an amazing job at getting them to that point. Plus they can repeat the computer portion as many times as they want. The other part, we try to keep them to 1 time because, you know, they have bonded with their own group. The amazing thing about our staff, there's 3 of us. You'd think that there were more by the number of people that we serve. But Wanda is our program assistant. Her name is Wonderful. We call her that. Because when somebody calls in, she is so welcoming and finds out all the information, sets up an appointment. And she and Karen and myself are all displaced homemakers. So 20 years ago, my husband died, and I had to find a job. And I went to the Displaced Homemaker program and went through that program. And then I was telling Kyle, then the journey that many of them take. I was a temp at Sham's Home Care. I worked part-time up at the county attorney's office upstairs. And then the job opened at Santa Fe to be the instructor. So I got to go back as the instructor. And then Karen came through our program, and she needed to get her computer skills up. She came in every day and sat in the back trying to get past the 35 mark of words per minute, and just sat there until she said, "Aren't you sick of it? Just hire me." And she had been a social worker, and she took on the role of being the instructor, so she's got her great story to tell. And Wanda also was a displaced homemaker. So we can bring, as the staff, which is why I'm talking to you, you see our people in many different forms, in many different ways. All of our services are free. We provide bus passes, gas cards, we have a clothes closet. The people in our community are so wonderful about bringing clothes. And we have business suits and of all sizes. Now, I will say, we don't have a lot of little tiny people. So if somebody says, "I have clothes," I say, yeah, the 4s and 6s, not so much. But anything that's larger than that, really getting a new outfit to go on an interview is great. So we have a clothes closet at Phil. We have a food pantry now, which we haven't had to do in the past. But unfortunately, we have found that there's more food apprehension, especially with single women who may get $16 worth of food stamps for a month. And anyway, that's another whole issue. But so we try to provide everything that they might need. Going back to school, if they need to take some more computer classes beyond a GED, we want to help them do that. And so we have agencies that help us. Santa Fe has now picked us up as a full-time program. We used to be under the state, but in June of last year, the legislature and the governor dissolved our trust fund completely. So we're the only standalone program now left in the state for the Displaced Homemakers program. Yeah. So our first name, we call ourselves Focus on the Future, and our last name is Displaced Homemakers, because that's pretty well known in the community. But then we get people calling and say, "Those dislocated members, those disoriented people, those dis something." So fortunately our call center recognizes that they're calling for us and they send us to us. So we try to put a little more positive spin on our first name, Focus on the Future, with the Displaced Homemaker program as our last name. So because we have been in the community for over 35 years, and probably you'd be amazed at the number of people who are in town who have gone through the Displaced Homemaker program. So I wanted to leave time for some questions, but I can keep talking. Yes, ma'am.
Can you make a donation for the clothes closet?
Oh, absolutely. And if you have some clothes and there's any time you can get out to the campus, we have a little cart. We run out with the cart and we unload it for you, and then we'll give you an inventory and a thank you note, because we count that as in kind. So yeah, that's a big part of how we access the community. I was telling Kyle too that we work with other agencies. Peaceful Paths, as you know, is the Domestic Abuse Network, and we're the agency that helps people find jobs who are coming out of the shelter. United Way contacted me early this week because they were helping a woman who found a job but needed a blazer and a shirt to start work on Monday. I said, we can do that. So she came in yesterday and she was very excited. She's getting her blazer and her shirt, and she'll start work on Monday. So the agencies work together to kind of embrace everybody in the community, because that is a workforce that can be reckoned with. We just have to give them a chance to get out there and find a job.
Right.
Yeah.
Joanne, I'm on the camera with you. I admire and respect what you're doing, and to know that you're a product of that program is just wonderful. My mother was a displaced homemaker. There were 5 of us, 5 children, and she stayed at home for 15 years and took care of us. So by the time she wanted to re-enter the workplace, it was a struggle because of the advancements. And think of today, we have college graduates that are struggling to get jobs. So you can only imagine if there's a woman who's been out of the workplace 15, 20 years, it's a challenge. And to know that you guys are providing those services and linking up. I heard you say you're linking up with Grace Marketplace and United Way and Peaceful Paths. That's wonderful, and our staff's very well aware of those. We have a real strong United Way campaign here. We wanted to bring Joanne in, and just like she said, you see these clients. So if someone's at your counter, I'm not working, I can't do. Have you ever heard of this program? You can give them a brochure. She's left us some brochures, and if you have questions or concerns, you can always contact Kyle, and she'll get you in touch with Joanne. But we're running a little short on time. But I want to thank you.
Well, thank you.
And really respect what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
For you guys, Joanne's here, so if you want to ask her.